Chapter 21. The first day back from the New Year's break, Dia sported a brand new green army Mao jacket. One of the pockets was already missing a button. He stood outside our door and looked as dopey as a bridegroom. "Hey, Happy New Year, and how in the world did you make that girl marry you?" I faked a frown and crossed my arms across my chest. Dia rubbed his reddened face. "This thing," he said, his hands smoothed the wrinkles on his jacket. "My mom made it for my elder brother, and the stupid guy washed it in boiling water. It shrank 2 sizes. Now I gotta wear it. I took the button off to look more casual." We chose the narrow path between 2 green wheat fields still wet from the melting frost. The morning sun gleamed through the fog. The trees, road, and endless fields looked like an impressionist painting. Fuzzy. "I feel ashamed walking beside you, you know," Dia suddenly said. "Why?" "I heard that you locked yourself up in your room and banged your head against the wall studying, and that you didn't even take New Year's Day off. You didn't, did you, you son of a gun?" "That was pure rumor. I had a great time this holiday." "Not true. I have my source." "I wouldn't rely on it entirely," I teased him. "Wait." Dia ran in front of me. "I heard something you might want to hear." "What?" "About your friends." "What about them?" "You haven't heard anything?" "No, I haven't heard from them since they skipped town on New Year's." "Don't pull my leg," Dia stopped me in the middle of the narrow road. His small eyes radiated sincerity. "I swear to Buddha," I said, "tell me what you heard." "Okay, here's a clue. Money." "Money? What money are you talking about?" My heart sank. Even Dia knew about their fortune. "You sure you don't know anything about this?" "Okay, the rumor out there is that Shang stole 1,000 yuan from the commune shoe factory his father runs. That's why he's been hiding out with his friends." The news hit me like a fist. Shang, a thief, on the run? I called the glee on my friends' face on New Year's Day. They had been so full of joy. That 1,000 yuan had to have been money that they won honestly. Shang wouldn't steal. My swore friends wouldn't lie to me about where they had gotten that fortune. It hadn't been in their eyes. There had been no fear. It was money that had come from bravery and their ability to take a calculated risk at the gambling table. "You don't believe me, do you?" Dia asked. "No, I don't. They told me a different story." "What? They told you about the money?" I realized my slip of the tongue. "Forget it, Dia. We didn't have this conversation, okay?" "Hey, slow down. I'm your best friend. Trust me. The commune is investigating the whole thing now, and they can't prove whether Shang really has the money that he was accused of stealing." Holy shit. I could have given the truth away. I was glad I was only talking to Dia, someone in whom I could confide my darkest secrets. "What else did you hear?" "That he stole the money to gamble, but that there's another rumor that the shoe factory's 1,000 yuan might have been stolen by its bookkeeper or someone from the inside. Someone knew that Shang was in possession of fortune and framed him. He was easy pickings. You know he hangs around the shoe factory and is good friends with the treasurer?" My heart sank lower. There was a scheme out there to frame and ruin Shang and his friends, and possibly me. "Did you hear anything about me being involved in any way?" "No. Everyone knows you're a born-again good guy who was recently honored with the Young Communist League title in school. You've been making quite a name as being the top contender for college." "How does your small village know so much about the things happening here?" "My neighbor, the Baldy. Remember? I told you about him. He's the head of the commune's militia command. He was drunk last night, boasting to my dad. I got the whole scoop. He's heading the investigation." "What's he doing now?" "Nothing concerning you," he told me. "Relax." I had never felt so relieved. I prayed a quiet thank you to Buddha that I hadn't followed them into the fields to gamble on New Year's Day. I could easily have been implicated. Buddha had been watching over me. A dark shadow clouded my mood. My friends were in trouble. I could do something about it, but I didn't have a clue what. I truly believed that they had gone to Poutine and cleaned Yi's colleagues out. They were self-made rich men, unjustly put on a short list of suspects. It would have been easy. They were social outcasts. Someone had probably known about their money, swiped the cash from the shoe factory, and laid the crime on them just in time to get away clean. The whole town would believe it was Shang, of course. It was the holidays, gambling time, and he just happened to be back up in town on the day the crime occurred. He probably went to see his dad at work, and someone saw him and heard about the money that they had won in Poutine. Bingo. What better motive? What better timing? Inside the school, the head walked by us with his nose up in the air. He sported a new jacket as well as a new hat for his formidable pat. He hurried by, sneering and ignoring us as if we were a couple of stinking bugs he didn't mind stepping on and grinding to death. That guy annoys the heck out of me, I said to Dia. My feeling exactly. Watch this. Dia cleared his throat and shouted, "Hey, head, there's bird droppings on your new hat." The head stopped without turning around. He knew where the voice came from. He thought for a second, then took off his new wool hat and checked the top quickly. "Oops, I lied," Dia laughed. "You little rat," the head said angrily. He rolled up his sleeves and walked up to Dia, who stood his ground. I inserted myself between them and said, "There's no reason to get angry here. Dia just wanted to see your head. That's all. It's a joke. Can't you take a joke, big boy?" "I can take a joke, but not from you two losers," the head gritted his teeth. "Hey, watch your mouth." I felt like shaking the guy. From the corner of my eye, I saw Dia reaching into his bag, ready to do some serious damage to the self-proclaimed top intellectual of Yellowstone High. I quickly put my hand on his arm. "Why are you wasting your time in school?" the head said. "You guys belong in the fields. There's no future for you two in school." "Says who? You?" I stepped closer. "Says everyone. Haven't you heard? Liberal arts is just a dumping ground for waste like you guys. Don't think a few good scores will get you into college. No way." My anger was reaching its peak. You could insult my looks, my character, my honor, but no one was allowed to tear apart my dream. I pulled back my arm, ready to shove my fist down his throat. This time, Dia dragged me back. "Hey, head, let me tell you something. This man," Dia pointed at me, "is going to be an English major at a top college in Beijing, while you, the engineering major, will end up in a corner of this freezing country, spending your miserable life sawing lumber in the snow. And you're going to get so lonely, you're going to start thinking about a sheep, while this man will be a translator for the Minister of Foreign Affairs, touring the beautiful Western world. Wake up, head, and think." My anger subsided at Dia's rousing speech. "In your dreams," the head put his hat back on and walked off proudly. Dia and I looked at each other and laughed. There was a reason why we liked each other. We worked well together. Unrehearsed. "How do you come up with that stuff?" I asked Dia. "Well, that's what I think is going to happen to you, man. Don't disappoint me. Work your bony butt off if you have to, and do honor to our friendship. I have high hopes for you and low expectations for that creep. I don't get it. How can such a big head be so stupid? I think the best thing for him to do would be to hand over his head to some scientist who can study it and find out what's wrong with it. This would be his biggest contribution to science." We had another good laugh. The classroom was half full when I came in. There had been some changes. The broken windows were fixed, and the wall was repainted with rough white paint. There was a large slogan about studying hard, a quote from the dead Chairman Mao. Students buried their heads in their books. Some stuck their heads out of the windows and puffed their tobacco rolls. There was a sense of seriousness that hadn't been there before. A fellow was actually reading an English lesson out loud. Only a year ago, his teeth would have been knocked out for doing that. I sat in my old seat in the corner of the last row. The corner was no longer for the convenience of jumping out of the window whenever I felt like it. It was an island. I felt safe here. I could survey everything and everyone, yet no one could see me. It was ironic to bring Mao into the drive for intellectual intelligence. If Mao had known what his little red guards were doing, he would have howled like a lonely wolf in his icy coffin and cried his smoke-ridden lungs out. Mao, the dictator, had been the friends of the devils. He had wanted China in perpetual turmoil so that he could rule forever. He had a simple philosophy. Peace and leisure bred unrest and resentment against leaders, while a sense of crisis strengthened his own leadership. That was why, ever since the communists took over in 1949, Mao hadn't stopped making fake smoke over faked fires. One political movement had followed another, and strewn down his long path lay the bones of millions of angry ghosts. He hadn't cared about the young generation whom he had ordered to walk out of school and into the countryside to get re-educated by the poor farmers in their muddy fields. He had simply wanted them to be ignorant so that he wouldn't be aware of what a fiend he really was. Young people love it. Since the big guy didn't want them in school, they packed up and moved to the countryside by the millions, singing the Red Guard songs and waving their little red books. But soon they found that all they could learn from farmers was backbreaking labor and antiquated farming techniques dating back thousands of years. So they started insulting the farmers and stealing their daughters and stopped going to work. All day long, the youngsters smoked, drank, gambled, and fell in love. There was nothing else out there to do. The lonely countryside became their trap. They roamed around the hills, but it was too late to move back to the cities they had come from because of China's population control system. A city person could easily give up his registration to move downward into the country, but not vice versa. They cried, and some committed suicide. Now they understood what their leader Mao had meant by finding your roots in the countryside. He had meant it literally. Go marry someone there, breed a litter of ignorant farmers, and never come back to the city to bother me again. At 8 sharp, the old bellman wobbled to the bronze bell that hung under the old pine tree. The sound of the bell echoed far and wide. In the school hallway, a Peking man snuffed out a cigarette and shuffled into our classroom. He smiled like a gorilla at the new slogan on the wall. He tried hard for a few seconds to conceal his laughter, but his thin lips were unable to cover his big teeth. "Who put it there?" Peking man asked. "Is that a joke or something?" The class was very quiet. "When Mao said study hard, I don't think he meant this kind of stuff we're studying now," he stuttered. "You should know that he was referring to his little red book, but I doubt college would give you credit for that." The whole class rocked with laughter. Only Peking man could open the first class of the year that way. What he said was brave, because Mao's ghosts still haunted the nation, but Peking man was fearless and angry. He had been beaten and sent to labor camps not too long ago. He snapped his fingers, and the class calmed down. "About learning history, let me tell you a story." We were all ears. When I was at the university, I roomed with a medical student. Every night before going to sleep, the guy stuck his hand into a wooden box under his bed and mumbled things, day in and day out. Finally, I couldn't contain my curiosity, and I asked him what he was doing. You know what he said? He had a whole collection of human bones in that box. He was trying to develop a feel for the bones blindfolded because he wanted to be a good doctor. "What are the bones of history?" Peking man paused and looked at us. From that day on, I did the same thing with all historical facts, dates and names of the dynasties, all the important little things in the study of history. I had flashcards, stacks of them, under my bed next to my stinking shoes. Before we turned out the lights, he would be busy with his bones and I with my cards. We had a grand time. We both graduated with honors. Peking man didn't ask us to do the same thing. He simply inspired and challenged us to follow in his footsteps. He was the perfect teacher for us to follow. His hairy chest, long limbs, formidable face, and the mountain of a jaw all attested to a man who knew the past well. Now, I heard that you guys are going to take the liberal arts examination. We don't have a lot of time left. Thousands of years of history have to be learned and relearned. I am here to guide you, but you have to do the rowing. Do you have any special requests before I begin? How many questions did you guess right on the last national history examination? One boy asked. My question exactly. I would say I guessed all of them, because I taught them all. No, I meant in the final days, when you gave your cram session, the boy persisted. Oh, that. 3 out of the 5 essay questions I gave my last graduating class the exact answers 2 days before the test. I considered it my gift to them. The smart ones went home and committed them to memory, and they came out of the test smiling from ear to ear. Another point driven home. Thou shalt heed my words. Peking man had the mentality of a god, and we were brought down on our knees in the presence of his achievement. But, he said, my guessing is just a bonus. Sometimes I guess correctly, other times I don't. You need to go home and chew up this thick volume. He waved his textbook as if it were scripture. Digest this and make it become part of you. Every word in here, every fact is a building block to your dream of a college degree. Young people like you belong there. His eye swept across me, and my heart warmed up 10 degrees. Remember, for the next few months, you have to sleep, eat, walk, and talk with these books. And you students who are behind, you had better dream about them as well. During the winter holiday, I had finished my history studies. They included Chinese ancient history, world history, and the stupid history of the Communist Party. The subjects were contained in a thick volume of 1,000 pages. In the beginning, I had been stunned by how many dynasties China had. The names of all the emperors and their successors piled up like endless waves of the Dongjing River. Gradually, I developed a method of study. I arranged the dynasties into a series of charts, a family tree, and gave them funny names, like those I used to give my dogs, chickens, and ducks. I carried the charts with me all the times and reviewed them again and again, even when I went to the bathroom. Every minute was put to good use in my schedule.